Illinois has what is considered a closed primary in that when you go to vote in the primary, you have to request either a Democratic or a Republican ballot. Now, there have been, over the years, various advocates for other systems have come up, and one thing that's been discussed is changing Illinois to what's referred to as an open primary, where you go in and the party that you take is not recorded. You know, you can take either ballot, it's recorded that you did vote in the primary, but the party that you took is not recorded. But for now, the system in Illinois now is if you vote in the primary, you go in and you tell the election judge, I want a Republican ballot or I want a Democratic ballot.
That's Matt Dietrich. He's a public information officer for the Illinois State Board of Elections. Chatted with him yesterday about the next process here of getting to the November midterm election, or is also referred to as the general election. Happens every 2 years. We get elections here in this country. But in the state of Illinois, we've got a primary first, and that primary is June 28th. It is the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop at 8:13, and I want to hear from you. Is it time to change Illinois' closed primary system? 217-629-7970. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media and message me that way. Just search out Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We can connect that way. But if you heard there, Illinois' closed primary process is one that requires the voter in the primary to announce their political choice, whether they're pulling a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. And that gets tracked. That gets logged. Politicians can then go and request voter roll lists to show this person didn't just vote in the November election. It doesn't show who you voted for there, but it shows that you voted. But it also shows this person voted in the primary, and it will show you, did they pull a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot? It doesn't show you who you voted for, but it shows you which party you voted for. So those voter rolls could come in handy in a variety of different ways. Say you want to find out the political perspective of an employee, or somebody else who's doing something else in the community. That's something that Illinois' closed primary process allows. It's not the only way of doing business, and it's also something that's paid for by taxpayers and facilitates the private parties of the Republicans and the Democrats and gives them a much longer runway of media coverage to the November election. Now, the third-party candidates, the so-called non-established party candidates, they start circulating petitions in April. They don't get to file those petitions until after the June primary. And that's just to get directly onto the November ballot. Their petition threshold is about 3 times more than what the established party has to get. The established party, their petitions are circulating starting today. So you're likely going to get a knock on the door. Hi, I'm running for office. You want to sign my petition? Now, keep in mind, if you want to sign those petitions, you can only sign one party's petitions. You can sign as many Republican gubernatorial candidates' petitions as you want, but you can't go and then sign a Democrat Party gubernatorial candidate petition. So the petitions are open now for the Republicans and Democrats, but it highlights how we've got this closed party primary in Illinois, which means if you vote in the primary, your party designation is going to be listed and tracked. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
It's very divisive. It's not disenfranchising of voters who like to vote for the person and not the party. I mean, we have such a messed up system that it forces you into the echo chamber of Democrat or Republic, and it needs to stop. Like, I mean, as a voter who has voted for both Democrats and Republicans, I feel it's incredibly disenfranchising for me not to be able to choose the best candidate in the primary that I want to be able to vote for on multiple fronts.
Yeah, I think there's other ways that this can be done, and it's something that has been considered by some at the State House, but ultimately these are decisions made by the Republicans and the Democrats elected at the Illinois State House, and they spell it out to say, hey, if you don't get more than 5% of the vote for a gubernatorial election, you're not considered an established party. And it really does kind of, I think, put people into these buckets when maybe that's not the best way to do things. I don't know. I'm asking you, 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
So what I'm interpreting from this is that other people can see who you voted for?
Other people, political actors, they can access voter rolls by requesting the data from local county election departments, and they can see who voted for what party. They can't see who you voted for. Say there's 4 candidates for the Republicans for any kind of seat. It won't show who you selected from those 4, but it will show that you pulled a Republican ballot.
All right, because what I was taking from this is that, like, just random people or employers could see who you voted for or really what party, I guess. And I'm just thinking, like, why is that any of their business?
By state statute, that's how it is. If you want to take part in the taxpayer-funded party primary, June 28th, and actually have a voice in who the candidates are going to be, then you have to take part in this closed primary system where you announce to the election judge, I want a Republican or a Democratic ballot. And then that's tracked. And you can't vote cross-party for the June primary.
All right.
Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. We'll go through some of the different types of primary systems there are in different states here in a moment. But, of course, your phone calls at 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Yeah, Greg, this one makes me absolutely livid because I can't vote for who I want to vote for independently. Even if they changed it and you still had to pick a party, it's not doing me any good. I feel like it violates my rights to be able to vote for who I feel is the best person for the job.
Well, and as somebody who covers these things every other year, it's election year, and I see the lengthy media coverage cycle that the Republicans and Democrats get. I mean, we're already talking about Republicans running for, comptroller or Secretary of State or this, that, and the other, and Democrats running for this, that, and the other. We're going to be talking about them for months before we even mention the name of some of the third parties that could be running on the November election. And that really does a disservice for getting a true picture and a true scope of the entire, election spectrum.
Right. And this is on my bucket list of to-dos for when I retire. I plan on having a lawsuit against this.
But you got to wait until you retire because you're busy making a living.
Exactly. I keep trying to get my mother to do it, but I can't talk her into it. So.
Right on. I appreciate the call. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on WMAY. Is it time to change Illinois' closed primary system to something else?
Absolutely, Greg, because the other thing that a lot of people don't know is that whenever candidates and their volunteers go walking and door knocking, they actually get all that data to see who voted for what party. And, I learned my lesson a long time ago, even though his cameo to me said that I supported him. I voted Democrat once, and that was to vote against Rod Blagojevich. And that was the only vote that I casted on that closed vote. And then years later, I get, hey, the Democrat, the Sangamon County Dems are wanting your support. And I'm like, I may just try to walk for you and be like, have you heard of this new third party guy? He's pretty cool.
Right. So, and you're touching on something else is you get all those mailers flooding your mail. They get your address because you voted in a primary one way or the other. Appreciate the call on that. 217-629-7970. Got full phone lines. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. I just wanted to kind of chime in on what you're talking about.
Please.
Okay, as someone who is a registered and does it every year election judge, I absolutely hate declaring in the primary.
I bet it's so uncomfortable. I bet it's so because horrible. It's supposed to be like a private vote, right? I mean, we think to ourselves, we go into the polling place, we're going to go into that booth and it's going to be private and nobody's going to see what we voted. But you have to walk in and say, I want a Democratic ballot or I want a Republican ballot.
Exactly. I live in a red county and I am blue and I hate it because if in the primary there's nothing going on the blue side and I want to vote for our local stuff, I can't do that because it's not going to be listed. I absolutely hate it. I wish they would change it. I've said that for as long as I've been able to vote.
Yeah, as long as I've came across the differences between closed and open primaries and whatnot, I'm like, what? Why are we doing it this way? And you think about it, and is it self-preservation? Is that what's behind this? Is that the established parties, the Republicans and Democrats, they do this for self-preservation?
Well, and just the fact that if I want to continue to be an election judge, I've got to keep doing my declaring Democratic because there's so many Republicans in my area that would need me, and I enjoy it, and I look forward to it every election. But I absolutely hate the fact that I'm stuck, and maybe there's nothing to choose from on the Democratic side. So,
sure,
anyway,
and that's in a way disenfranchises people, and why even go vote in the primaries if there's not going to be legitimate choices on the ballot for the party that you equate yourself with. Another call here, and then we'll go through some of the different options there are in different states. Good morning, you're on WMAY.
Greg, I agree with you on this one, man. It's time to get rid of the closed system, and I don't think most people realize. I think if you read the law correctly, when you go in to vote and declare whether you're Republican or Democrat, the person giving you that has to declare loudly and clearly.
They check the box on your voter. They got the big book with the voter rolls on there, and they check the box which one you took, and then that goes back to the county clerks, and they compile all that data.
Yeah, but they're supposed to announce it loudly and clearly. I think it says in the law which one you chose. Mm-hmm. Where everybody in the room can tell you're voting Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. And the reason we bring this up today is because today starts the petitioning process for Republicans and Democrats wanting to get onto the June 28th primary ballot. Now, I pulled up Ballotpedia, a great resource for those who are election nerds. And they've got, the difference between a closed primary, which they say a closed primary is a type of primary election in which a voter must affiliate formally with a political party in advance of the election date in order to participate in that party's primary. 14 states in the District of Columbia have this process. Illinois is one of them. Another process is an open primary, and that is any primary election in which a voter either does not have to formally affiliate with a political party in order to vote in its primary, or can declare his or her affiliation with the party at the polls on the day of the primary, even if the voter was previously affiliated with a different party. But then there's also a semi-closed primary, also known as a hybrid primary. It's a type of primary election in which previously unaffiliated voters may participate in the partisan primary of their choice. Voters are already affiliated, who are already affiliated with the primary political party, they can vote in that party's primary. 15 states have the hybrid model. When it comes to the open primary, 21 states have that. But there's even a different model here in Washington. They became the first state to adopt a top two primary system for congressional and state level elections. California in 2010 followed suit. In Nebraska, a top two primary system is utilized for state legislative elections. And that's just a different process altogether. The top two primary system, Ballotpedia says, is a type of primary election in which all candidates are listed on the same primary ballot. And then the top two vote getters, regardless of their partisan affiliation, advance to the general election. So maybe that's a different way we can go about changing this, is looking at something like that where it doesn't matter. Green Party, Communist Party, Constitution Party, Republican Party, Democrat Party, Libertarian Party, put them all up on the ballot. Yeah, they have to go get petitions, put them all up on the ballot. And in the primary, then you do some kind of top two or some kind of runoff, maybe the top four. That way you can actually have some diverse choices going into the general election. That might make the primary pretty flooded with the ballot, but is it a different way that we can go to possibly make it more of a private, secret ballot? 217-629-7970 is the phone number. One last call here. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
There's a darker side of this, especially in Springfield. Back in the days of political hires before we had interviews, your job was on the line if you voted in a primary and the party that you voted not with won. Right. So, it's kind of a holdout of a very old system that absolutely needs to go away. So.
appreciate the call, and it's something that I think we'll have to talk about in future episodes because this is, coming up June 28th is the private party primary that taxpayers pay for. All right, it is now 8:26. Thanks so much for taking part, and hopefully you